Greetings all. We are delighted to welcome you to our visit to India today. And we have two presenters. They are colleagues at the School of Planning and Architecture in Bhopal, India. But in this case, Dr. Rachna Kare is our old friend who is currently in Los Angeles in the United States. And her colleague, Dr. Kekoli Saha, is in India, in Bhopal. So we have very much an international conversation this morning. And we are very excited about this, partly because it is so important for us that practice and proselytize for inclusive or universal design to understand how significant the cultural context is for that work. You cannot do it one way. There is no formula that works everywhere. So it is a really wonderful opportunity for us to really immerse ourselves in the Indian context today. And I made an effort to make myself less ignorant about India. And part of what I wanted to look at is how long is the arc of historic sites in India? It's 4,500 years. So we are looking at some very ancient historic sites. And I think part of what is also definitive of the Indian experience is its urban reality. There are 65 cities over 1 million in India. Compare that to the United States, which, mind you, is 3 times bigger. And we have 10 to 12 cities that are 1 million or more. So this is a fundamentally different culture and a really exciting opportunity for us to understand how a couple of experts are figuring out how to integrate people in the full cultural experience. I want to also just give a nod to Dr. Kare, who we have known for a long time. And I have behind me a book we published of hers when she was a pioneer in design for autism and neurodiversity. This dates to 2010, 16 years ago, designing inclusive educational space. Learned so much from you over time, and we welcome the opportunity to learn again today. And I want to just remind people, our presenters will present, and then we will open to your questions. And we very much invite you to do that. We've got an interesting combination of people. So we are really hoping that you will engage in our conversation this morning too. So without further ado, it is your...
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Valerie, and welcome to our international participants. I'm so happy to be in touch with IHCD again. I remember when I wrote to them 25 years before, when the universe was not www. At that time, they were the first ones to respond to my communication. And thank you so much for inspiring so many of us working in different parts of the world. So again, I'm grateful to be part of this talk again. And let me share my presentation here. And I'm really happy to see my book in the background. Yeah. So, can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah. So our talk today is on Universal Access Mapping Toolkit for Heritage Sites and Cities in India. So this is sponsored by several of our Government of India projects, which I will talk about in subsequent slides. But before I start, I would like to share that this image, which you can see here, is from a World Heritage Site, Sanchi, which is a Buddhist site. And it dates back to 3rd century BC, that is 2,500 years before, and in this relief carving, you can see the city. People are watching the procession from their respective houses. You can see multi-storied houses. So at that time, how people were living in India can be seen here, because it is only what you see is depicted in such monuments in the carving. So we have a very glorious history, and this is one of them. So before I begin, I will elaborate on the keywords, because there are certain terms which we'll be using often in our talk, but they mean different in different contexts. So this universal accessibility, we use universal design, inclusive design, accessibility separately around the world. But this universal access is included in our harmonized guidelines, and we have taken the definition from there. But in India, accessibility it came much after United States. In 1990, you had for your American with Disability Act, and before that also you had the law. But then the guidelines and everything came, and we had our first act of parliament in 1995, and it took a lot of time for us to get to accessibility, and still you don't see accessibility all over. So universal design emerged in United States only when the accessibility was implemented, and then Ron Mace had this question of including everyone through universal design. And when accessibility is benefiting everyone, then why not to have a design of products, environment, and services to be usable by all individuals, because it benefits everyone. So here I am going to use universal accessibility, because the precursor of universal design is not there in India. So we are taking everything along, when it comes to the implementation of accessibility and universal design in India. And toolkit is a structured collection of methods, checklists, and templates, as we all know. And in context of accessibility, toolkit provides a standardized tool to assess, plan, and implement inclusive infrastructure solutions. We have seen accessibility checklists, universal design audit checklists. There are several checklists which are there, and these are standardized tools. Sometimes they are very prescriptive, sometimes they are collaborative. Now, coming to the third keyword, India and its heritage. I already said that India has a history of more than 5,000 years old. And we have, you can see India here in the globe. We are, and you can see America, South America, Africa, Europe, China, and Middle East. So we are here, and we have 1.4 plus billion population. We have 28 states, 8 union territories, and we have vast cultural and geographic diversity. You can see we have a very large coastline. We have Indian Ocean on one side, and we call it Arabian Sea, and this is Bay of Bengal. And we have Himalayas on north, we have humid deltas on east, and desert on, you can see the Middle East here, desert on the west side. So it has because of its geography, we have a different cultural context in different parts of the country. And this is the map of India, and you can see different states in this map. And we come from the centralmost state called Madhya Pradesh, and Bhopal, from where we come from, is capital of Madhya Pradesh. And our institution, SPA Bhopal, is School of Planning and Architecture Bhopal, is an institution of national importance by another act of parliament, which brings all SPAs together. There are 3 SPAs in India, and we come from this place. And we have rich layered heritage. We have mix of historic cities. There are historic cores. There are, much bigger cities where we have tangible and intangible heritage. There are rituals. There's culture. There are living rituals, and it engages a lot of people from different backgrounds, those major rituals. And then tangible, we have monuments, forts, palaces, we have, and then we also have living forts, living cities where people are. It is historic. We have heritage sites. It comes under Archaeological Survey of India, but at the same time, they are living. We have people there, and there are urban design guidelines to do the interventions in those heritage cores. So, other than this, we also have metro cities, medium and small sized towns, and rural landscape. You can see different, as I said, that we have desert, we have coastline, we have rivers, we have, so it is, and we also have different diverse users in Indian context. Other than persons with disabilities, elderly, children, we also have, different kinds of people, those who are coming to India or those who stay in India by different purposes. And also we have socioeconomic diversity, which we always said that when we are talking about universal design in India, it must expand itself in the context of India, and we all work together to, work on a major project called Universal Design India Principles, which are contextual derivation of universal design principles. Because even universal design doesn't say that one size fits all, so we have contextualized it as per our, and they are used. Those principles are used together with the Universal Design Principles International. And we have these complex realities. We have rapid urbanization alongside historic fabric, and we always have this tussle of, retaining the historic fabric and the demands of the urbanization, which happens globally. So we have structured our presentation in this way. We will talk about accessibility and its need in heritage sites and cities, evolution of accessibility in heritage conservation policies, global and India. Global, we have mostly restricted ourselves to United Nations and also some milestones from US. Challenges today, and toolkit we developed at our institute, which was anchored in the UNESCO HUL approach, because that's an approach. Why HUL? Because that's an approach which is being accepted by heritage professionals also. So unless and until you are mainstreaming your thought, you will never be able to implement it. So that is why it is grounded in there. And we found, a lot of anchors in this approach. I will talk about it in detail. So, and then we are going to share case studies where we have in a smaller scale, where we have done manual mapping, we have done GIS-based mapping, and then we had a lot of data, what we did with that data. So this is how we have structured our thoughts in here. So why accessibility in heritage sites and city? Heritage is a shared right. So it is mentioned in United Nations Convention of Rights for Persons with UNCRPD, and also in Faro Convention. And we also in India have legal and policy imperatives. Other than this, that we are signatories of UNCRPD, we also have national acts, which the first act came in 1995, but subsequently several other acts came in, and now we have the revised act, which is 2016. And also we have moral and ethical responsibility, because heritage belongs to all, and everybody has a right to access their own identity, which is grounded in history. And economic and tourism development, it expands accessible tourism and support SDGs. There are several people, those who are traveling within the country and also from internationally. So not that you are showing your sensitivity and empathy to diverse users, but also you are bringing tourism and impacting the economy. This is very interesting picture in here. We have, I don't know if you have heard about Ayodhya. That's a major city and also a pilgrimage site in India. And this is and we have a new temple. We have old temple, old mosque, and we also have a new temple. And temple is accessible. And other than it is helping people with disabilities to with them visit the temple, we also have a new set of service providers, those who are there in Ayodhya, and then they are being people, those who want to help others, because it is considered holy in the theory of karma to help others. So they have this wheelchair, you connect with them, and in case you are elderly, you are not able to walk, so it is also generating tourism and economic benefit just by the by having a new temple with lot of accessibility in there. So if we see the policy timeline, before 1990s, in heritage conservation, it was mainly a conservation era where we had Venice Charter, World Heritage Convention, and everybody was talking about preserving and conserving the heritage sites. And it is only after 1990s, I will say that ADA Act was a major milestone, not only in America but across the world. We have Salman Khan's statement 94, and we also have which is UNESCO's mandate, and we had our first act of parliament because of the impact of all this in 95, as I said earlier. Then accessibility emerged as a human right in 2000 decade followed by 2000. We have UNESCO Cultural Diversity Declaration, Faro Convention, which talked about value of heritage for the society, and UNCRPD 2006. It also talked about accessibility to all different recreational sites, and India ratified it in 2007. So, following this, in the decade followed by 2010, we had integrated frameworks. Earlier, we were talking about having accessibility as part of our ministries, those who were working for people with disabilities, and those who had functional limitations. But then, after 2000, then came UNESCO HUL recommendation, which said that we should include everyone, we should value all diverse people, those who will be visiting sites, and then what heritage means to them. And that is the main approach, and also we had Accessible India campaign in 2014 in India, where all different urban initiatives were combined with accessibility. And this campaign was definitely started by Ministry of Social Justice, but at the same time they identified different cities in India, and some 50 buildings in India, in all those cities, and trained people to conduct access audit. People did that, and then they they connected with their respective departments, and then that had a major impact. And also came UNESCO's SDGs goal, which included inclusive and safe and resilient cities as part of cultural and natural heritage, which made again a major impact. And these SDGs were followed as one of as anchors and goals in our planning approaches as well. And as I said, in that decade only, we had our Rights for Persons with Disability Act, which further elaborated on our previous acts, and talked about built environment specific, that how and it is to be done in the built environment. Persons with disabilities should have access to all aspects of life, and it also elaborated on who is responsible in case heritage is not provided in different sites. So following this, we had 2020 standards and gazette notifications. So when we signed UNCRPD, again it casted impacts on all our different states and different departments, and every department started making their own guidelines. Earlier we had one guideline from Department of Disability Affairs, and everybody was supposed to follow that guideline. But now every department had every ministry had their own guidelines, and which is notified and gazetted. So now in India, we have accessibility standards and guidelines by Ministry of Culture. Also, monument sites, heritage sites, museums, library, they all come under Ministry of Culture. So, despite this, that we had international and national frameworks, we had conventions, codes, and guidelines, standards, toolkits, implementations. There remained, several challenges. Rights are recognized globally and nationally, but we have weak enforcement in heritage sites, not only in India, but we see this across the globe. There's limited awareness in heritage managers. Codes provide measurable standards, but these are prescriptive with rigid applications, and this is difficult in fragile heritage. Toolkits are also there, but underutilization is common, and there are not many trained professionals, those who can actually do this in heritage specific, interventions. And international agencies provides model, but India, we also have several other challenges like funding constraints, bureaucratic delays, and fragmented roles. We have different ministries, dealing with different things in the urban environment. So the major challenge is conservation versus accessibility, and it is always seen like this everywhere. So people with those who are heritage professionals, they will talk about authenticity. They will talk about retaining the ambience of the site. They are though conservation or any heritage fabric is has layers of time, but then when we are making interventions for accessibility, they they are resistant because it has a major visual impact on the ambience of the site. And also there are people, those who are working in the accessibility, those who will say, no, this has to be done in this way because this is what is being prescribed in our standards. So it is always conservation versus accessibility. Even if we change the slope of ramp a bit, as architect, many times we also face this, that in case we have limited funds or we are doing so, people are not open to the idea of making changes as per the context. So it is always there's always a clash with the authenticity. There are training gaps. There are only few professionals, those who are trained in both heritage and universal design. uh, in India, we still have that top down thing. We don't have that empowered user group. And though we have, again, several amendments to our constitution, and we have tried to make it down top, but then at the same time, it takes a lot of time, for the vulnerable populations to get empowered and to have their own voice in planning decisions. So, and then we also have resource scarcity. We have limited funds for said purpose. So, under this entire context, we started experimenting in our sponsored projects. This is our logo, SPA's logo, and this is Design Innovation Center project of Ministry of Education, which is a academic come research come practice project, which helps academicians to encourage students to innovate, do research in their chosen areas, and at the same time connect them with the industry, connect them with and provide entrepreneur skills to help them have their own startup and their own innovation. We and this is what was possible with our some of our experiments were possible by this DIC, and we engaged a lot of students in here. This is Center for Human Centric Research. When I went from US at that time, I was so inspired by so many things, even with ISCD, and we started a Center for Human Centric Research in SPA Bhopal. And this supports, we have a lot of equipments, a lot of simulation models which help us, and laboratories to help us do such experiments. And this is another project, Amrit 2 is an initiative by Government of India, and we have Center for Urban Planning and Capacity Building under Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. So under this, we train professionals, those who are engaged in urban development, and so in our chosen theme area. So universal design accessibility was one of the chosen areas, and we trained a lot of students, a lot of professionals in our experiments. We had about 50 student interns across the disciplines of geography, geoinformatics, architecture, planning, design, computer science during this project. And we did capacity building of 183 stakeholders, those who were people from urban local bodies, municipal corporations. Other than this, we had around 250 students, those who were engaged in regular studio, where we were floating this idea, making them do helping them do in their regular planning studios, architecture studios, as a main theme as part of our regular architecture and planning processes. So coming back to the theory to which we anchored our toolkit was historic urban landscape approach. And this approach says that you, instead of protecting isolated monuments, you must manage the entire urban area as living. So when you say entire urban areas as living, because then it also says that diversities of heritage value, tangible and intangible, should be recognized for all different people, those who are associated with the heritage or visiting the heritage. And also integrating heritage in urban planning was also part of this, in which they said that monument doesn't exist in isolation. It is, and then the decision related with a monument, decision related with the development doesn't happen in isolation. Many times in our previous planning maps, the heritage zones were shown white, because this is the zone which we are not supposed to touch. So now they say that instead of two different professionals dealing with two parts of the city, let's take the whole part, let's take conservation and development together on board when we are making plans for our cities. And then focusing on community participation and inclusivity, they say that community must be brought on board, empower them, give them an opportunity, as well as equip them with the skills to become part of this master plan. So this all comes as HUL approach, and in India there's a big drive for heritage professionals to help them learn about HUL approach when they are conserving their monuments. That's the mainstream approach. But we are also saying that this our accessibility, universal accessibility, is also plugged in the same approach because of your all these principles. So then we started looking at different charters, different guidelines when we started our toolkit. Then we did our pilots. We had, when we got this project at that time, there was one major event. This is that major event which was happening very near to our city. This is Ujjain, and there are 4 such cities where Kumbh happens. Kumbh is one of the larger urban festivals and urban conglomeration of people, where people are gathered to take ritual bath in different cities in different rivers which are there in the cities. So we took that opportunity, and it happens every 12 years. There's called full kumbh and half kumbh, Purna Kumbh, Ardha Kumbh. So that's the full one happens every 12 years, and half one happens every 6 years. So we got this opportunity to experiment, go there, because you have diverse people visiting that area, and true reflection of India in all sense. So, and at that time, we were just done with our Berkeley Prize Teaching Fellowship. This was a fellowship which was offered to different professionals and academicians, those who were working with the students in their respective countries. And this prize is endorsed by UC Berkeley, and it was dedicated to Miss Elaine Ostroff, and we did that. And then we started working on different other heritage sites, and to help to understand what universal access means in different contexts in different cities. So here you see intangible heritage. You see forts, palaces. These are some this is observatory in India. So you see different kinds of monuments, different kinds of heritage, and we were experimenting on that. And at urban heritage, we also worked on Shimla as pilot, that how do we really implement it. And we had several books to refer to. And this is a colonial heritage stretch, and this is Ujjain, where the Kumbh happens. So we were doing all these things, and then we realized that when we talk about heritage city for and we are talking about accessibility for people, those who are visiting the heritage city as pilgrims or as tourists, then it is not just the monument or the stretch or the ritual. It is a whole chain of various components. People come to the city, they eat and sleep, they do shopping, they visit attraction, they use local transport, and then they go and they recollect the memories. So it is the whole chain which is to be looked into. And when we are saying universal access, then, and we want actual people to be on site rather than just following certain guidelines and doing implementation there. Let's understand if all this can be linked at urban level in terms of universal access. So, and then we said, okay, what are the major components? So first is that we must know the target user group for whom we are doing this. And then accessibility parameters, what we are assessing, what we are checking, what we are evaluating. And third is criteria for evaluation, how we are going to measure this. So this we started aligning our research to these three things, and we started putting all these things into three axes. So on x-axis, y-axis, we had accessibility parameters, what we are going to assess, and x-axis we had criteria for evaluation, how we are going to assess. And y is as parameters are deliberately kept on y because of the length of the data that we require. And typically we in India we write from left to right, it is done in English, and from top to bottom. So, and then we had a Z axis where we had a target user group. So whosoever was working on X and Y, they were sensitized for the user needs. At the same times, they did extensive survey, and they were extensively trained on the tools and ethical issues when it comes to the people, when you are working with the people. So what are the different diverse user groups, how can we engage them in different stages, activity mapping, observation as a tool, interview as a tool, trace study as a tool, and different other ethnographic methods, so that they know. Because everything what was happening in India was we call it foundational research, because we don't get a lot of literature on it, and it is happening for the first time. So these are and the students started organizing that data. And in y-axis, we had, as I said, what we are going to measure. So in a larger city, as I was saying, that you are entering into the city, you are living in the city, you are moving in the door. So there are city entry points, transportation nodes, there's public realm, you have streets, you have ritual spaces. So these are the different lists, different components which were part of all these things. And then it changed with the different projects. Every context had different list, different y-axis. And similarly, we had different x-axis for different cities, depending on the context. Initially, we did yes and no observation and remarks, where yes, accessibility is there, no, accessibility is not there, which is a typical format. And then we have done observations, remarks, we started putting them all together. But in India, we also realized that it is not yes and no. In America, we do it, that designing accessibility or universal design for independence. But in countries like India, we also have interdependent social strata, interdependence as part of our values. So my guide, under whom I did my PhD in Georgia Tech, he often talked about this interdependence in Professor Abir Malik. He was director of the industrial design program then, and he is also one of the authors of International Universal Design Principles and India Universal Design Principles. So he was part of it, and he often talked about interdependence. And we often wondered that how are we going to map this? Can we define it? Can we, because again, as I said, that it is considered part of our theory of karma, that it helping others is holy. Are we really going to kill this with our access audit, and we'll say no, everything is not accessible, whereas this is not true. Despite no accessibility, people have been traveling to these sites and doing these rituals since ages. So let's map that as well. So, and then we also had this quantitative scale where we had 2-point scale, 3-point scale, and also 5-point scale. As I said, that in India, accessibility is, and no accessibility and universal design, everything is happening parallelly. So we said accessible, yes, it is accessible, but then there are management issues. Accessible, but there are maintenance issues. Accessible, but retrofitting is needed, and not accessible. So, to encourage district administration and to help them where the problem exists, we started mapping it on different scales. And sometimes we also did it on 8-point scales where we wanted it to be available for different functional limitations. So, and this XYZ depended on the purpose. What are you going to do with this toolkit? Whether you are using it to train students, professionals, or you are making a document which will help the planning processes and heritage management or policy framework, or you are enabling research and innovation happening in that particular context, or to help people with disabilities or people with functional limitations or those who are vulnerable to get this data to access a heritage environment. So these are some steps which we followed. First, we defined the objectives in our toolkit, and then sensitization to our team regarding the user groups in the different contexts. And then we did a literature survey for that particular context. For every city, we do this, in our toolkit, and we follow this structured method. And then we do context survey to understand challenges and opportunities in that particular context. Then we modify or frame our XYZ axis and do pilot survey. And then we do data collection, we do data analysis, and then we formulate the recommendations. So when we started in the beginning, we did our first experiment in our urban design studio, which is a regular studio for architecture students, and we introduced this inclusive streetscape. Include this in this studio themed inclusive streetscape in Chowk Bazaar in Bhopal. So here we had that XYZ axis, and there are different peoples, those who are part of that particular city. So I will little bit expand on what this Chowk Bazaar is. And the idea was to train students to identify diverse users' needs through urban mapping and suggest solutions for inclusive streetscape in the heritage city. They were doing independent individual buildings, individual monuments, but what happens when you are doing it for the whole streetscape? So we did this entire streetscape in Chowk Bazaar. Bhopal is, as I shared with you earlier, also in the central of India. We have, and in center of Madhya Pradesh, we have, capital of Madhya Pradesh, which is Bhopal. And this is how Bhopal city looks like. This is the municipal boundary in blue. And this is our planning boundary in pink, and then we have our district boundary. So early Bhopal is a very old city. Origin dates back to 11th century, and it is a lake-based settlement. We have a lake, and then in US, I recently went to bank to open my account, and I met a person there, and he said, Bhopal, is this the same place where you had a rule of women for a long time? So I thought that I must include, yes, this is the same place where we had, ruling begums for a very long period, and they had very progressive governance. And post independence, it became a part of Madhya Pradesh. We have a lot of industrial urban expansion, and also many people remember Bhopal with Bhopal gas tragedy, which was a major industrial disaster in the world. We have overcome that, and now it has emerged as education and administrative hub in the state and the country. So this is the map. As I said, this is lake-based development, and these are the old cities. I have taken very old map of Bhopal so that I can show you. And this is from archives, and this shows the major, city walls. So this was one city wall, and this is one cluster developed by different rulers. So we worked on this particular cluster, and Chalk is where the four streets meet. Yeah, and this is a very very acceptable or very prevalent concept in Islamic architecture, where and in Bhopal we have a Hindu and Muslims mixed culture. We had a long rule of begums in Bhopal, and then this is and it has its own influence in its architecture and urban planning. So this is the place where the four squares are meeting. You can see this, and we we took this particular street, and in the center we have Jama Masjid. We have one street, and there is another, and then people are living here, people are doing, and this is how the whole city is and you find these fortified cities in here. Now we don't see those fort walls. We only have the remains of those fort walls. So this is how that square is. This blue is as per our land use plan. We show commercial areas in blue, so that you can see this entire area, which was earlier residential, has become turned into a major commercial hub. This yellow part is residential, so we have have the residences also. And this is how the Jama Masjid looks like in the center. And you can see the people. This is one street. This is another one. This is another one, and these are meeting. And this is a live mosque. Every Friday and every day you'll find people here. And in Eid, you'll find this entire chalk glowing and filled with a lot of people and activities. So this is how it is like. You can see the chalk, and this is the area. So we said that, okay, let's start doing it for this particular stretch, and it was happening manually. And we mapped the different typologies, different kinds of shops which are there, the topography, how the levels are changing over the street. Then the cluster mapping, where we have linear clusters, open courtyards, closed courtyards. This is, and what kind of how many stories we have of buildings we have in this street. Then we started built age mapping, how old and what kind of monuments and what is the condition of those monuments along these streets. and we did activity mapping. What happens in what is happening on the street from morning to evening, with and by different groups of people. What is the pedestrian movement, vehicular movement? They mapped that, and then we made that X and Y thing. We mapped all photographs. This was all happening manually, and we had mapped that. But then the inferences were coming with respect to the whole setup. People, instead of talking about just ramps and steps and handrails and tactile tiles, they said that the problem is in access points. It was originally designed for bullock carts and pedestrians. Now city is choked with the vehicles. There's a problem with the parking. There are diverse vulnerable user groups, diverse user groups also which are there. There's rapid commercialization, issues with the public amenities, and of course irregularity of the thresholds, and different relief points. And then they developed the solutions as last part of the toolkit, that from micro to macro level, that what should happen, where should be the pause points, what should be the urban inserts, where underground services are required, how the phase wise pedestrian should happen, road widening, rerouting, washrooms, facilities, and Jama Masjid, which is the main mosque in the center. And people started developing the solutions, and not only they talked about diverse users, but at the same time flora and fauna of the entire space, where traditionally you will find a lot of birds around, a lot of because there are bird feeders, and traditionally it became again a part of ritual. It was a ritual to feed the birds, so that is how they started giving the thing. But when we were doing it, we realized that it is becoming very laborious when you are doing it for the whole stretch, and doing it everything manually. Then can we have planners on board, and can we have GIS experts on board to help us with this data, so that the data collection becomes easy and data analysis becomes easy? Though we will stick to our XYZ axis, but can people, those who are from technology background, help us with larger urban setups for systematic assessment. We have Dr. Kakuli Saha on board. She was part of our, our group, and she said that yes, she will be happy to help us. And we continued with our experiment, and we started with we followed the same concept, that yes, in the city, that urban stretch or monument is not the only thing. You enter into the city, you use local transport, you visit these areas, you stay somewhere. So this entire sequence has to be taken care of. And then we started doing it not only for that street, but the area around that chalk. So I will ask Dr. Kakuli Sahab, can you please take over now?
Thanks, Professor Khare. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Thank you. As Professor Khare explained, I'm Dr. Kakuli Isaha, and I'm an assistant professor at the Department of Urban and Regional Planning, and my expertise in GIS and remote sensing. So when I came on board with the project of Dr. Khare, and I started to think, how can I incorporate GIS in universal accessibility, a domain, and its study. So we found that there are several ways we can. The first and foremost, obviously, the mapping, which is a spatial mapping, and whatever measurement we do or analysis we do on these maps, they will be true to the ground because of its spatial connotation that GIS map always have the earth coordinates embedded in it. So that's the main advantage. Another advantage of the GIS that it helps us to convert the point data to the continuous data. So we can have the zones of accessibility. not only the building and the monument. In architecture, it is very famously done, whether they're building or monument or structure or a park or something like that is accessible or not. But what about we want to know what happens in between? For that, we need zones, continuous zones of accessibility. So GIS helped us to do so. How we did it, we are going to explain that. Next slide. Next, yeah, thank you. So the PAN city we tried to do, Professor Khare explained how we did that one stretch, which was like road stretch of 2 kilometers long. And what about we want to do a PAN city? Because we want to make city accessible, not only part of it. So with that thought, we selected a 36-kilometer stretch within the Bhopal city. The stretch involves 3 city entry exit points. In the Bhopal, there are 3 clusters of city entry exit points. They are from the west. There is one railway station and the bus station, and in the middle there is another railway station, cluster of railway station and bus station. They are the oldest one. And on the southeast there is another cluster of railway station and bus station. So we took a road which is connecting all 3 of them, and then also we took the older part of Bhopal where mostly the heritage structures are. They are the, as Professor Khare explained, lived heritage, and they are the tourist spots also. People visit them very frequently. And we took the newer part of the Bhopal at the south, the tourist places, the museum along the lake, and there is an open zoo, which you call Banvihar National Park along the lake. There are boat clubs, boating facilities. So we include each of them. And then we also included the accommodation points along these stretches. There are hotels that we considered, which belongs to the MP state Madhya Pradesh government. And to be mentioned here that we assess the universal accessibility from a perspective of a visitor uh, and visitor with mobility restrictions. So if an outsider or a visitor comes to Bhopal, descend at the railway station or bus station, and then go to the accommodation point, and then tries to visit the tourist spot, heritage or not heritage. So we we assessed from the perspective of a mobility of a visitor with disability. Next slide, please. So how did we do that? We first made the checklist, as Professor Khare explained, and then we digitized the entire checklist in a open source applications. The application was compatible to in the web and also in the mobile phone format. So the advantage of that, the students or the surveyors just to take their smartphones and do the survey. And we did a survey, and I told the surveyors to score them in a numerical score. If it exists, then 1. If it partially exists, 0.5, and it non-exists, 0. We in India, the scenario is little different. We cannot do complete binary that it exists or not exist. As Professor Khare explained, it's not like this way happen here, yes or no. We need some intermediate points also that probably does exist, but there are some maintenance issue or there are some retrofitting needed. So we took them also in the account. So we scored them numerically to produce the map in the GIS. Next slide, please. So after recording the data in the open source application, which is GIS compatible, we imported them in the GIS platform. So this map here, you can see all the survey points are displayed on a GIS map. So survey points are our layer. We overlaid that with the road layer and with the land use layer, and there is a lake, also the layers of that. So we took some of the layers from the open source platform and we overlaid our data, our shape files on top of that. Next slide, please. So after we get the data and displayed it, and after importing it in the GIS, they are still point data. And our objective is to get continuous zones. There is a tool available in the GIS called Inverse Distance Weighted Tool, or IDW tool, which actually let us to do so. It converts the discrete point into the continuous zone. Here in this slide, you can see one example of that. For an example, carb RAM is the one of the parameter in our Universal Accessibility Assessment checklist. And in the case of carb RAM, if we generated the continuous zone, so there are zones of high to low. And we reclassify it because we want these zones to be reduced in number. So we decided upon 3 classes: low, medium, high. So the figure in the right hand side actually showing that the zones of falling under low accessibility in CARB-RAM, zones falling under high accessibility in the CARB-RAM. Next slide, please. So this way, we created thematic maps, we call thematic maps, for each of the parameters of Universal Accessibility Checklist. So advantage it, you can have a very detailed understanding that which zone is lacking in terms of universal accessibility status in a particular parameter. So you can see all of these maps are actually showing the same place, the same built environment are visualized in different accessibility hierarchy status. Some places are low accessible, falling in the low accessible zone. Like for an example, in the case of first map, the subways and footover bridge, you can see it's all red, mostly. So it means that all of these area are falling with the low accessibility zone. But the same area, if you can see at the bottom in the signage, the southern part of that area, some of that is falling within the high accessibility zone and the medium accessibility zone. So GIS gives us the power, I would say, empowered us to have a very good visualization of accessibility status. Here we selected 3 classes, but you can select n number of classes. You can add more and more layer, n number of layer, n number of parameters. And in the different parameters, in the different perspective, you can analyze a particular built environment. And GIS let you to do so. So after we mapped all those 10 parameters of public realm, and we analyzed that which part of our city is falling in the accessibility status of a particular parameter, we move to next. The next step was to get a combined information of all these. Next slide, please. So what is the combined information? These 2 maps, these are the zoomed in map of the same location that was explained in the previous slide. So zoomed in map and their corresponding photographs. So these zoomed in map are actually the combination of all the 10 thematic layers that we have prepared. So we can analyze them in the individual parameter, and we also can analyze in combination of all. This combined map is showing that blue box you can see on the top left, that is mostly the old city area where Professor Khare just explained that she did the manual design and analysis portion. So this old city area entirely in the combined map also falling in the red zone, means the zone of low accessibility. So the advantage of having this type of zone is that it will help the policymaker to take decision. That whenever the master plan is made of a particular city, there was always phase-wise fund allocations that the part of the master plans in India here. And if we can say definitely with a map that which are the places need to be addressed first in terms of improving the accessibility. So it will help them to allocate the budget for developing the infrastructure, accessibility infrastructure in that particular area. So it will empower them to take more informed decision, and it will also help the stakeholders, mostly the users, and it will also help the city authority. These heritage places are mostly tourist places, and there is lots of tourist footfall. And if we improve the accessibility, there will more and more people will come there from outside also. It will ultimately contribute in the revenue generated for the city. So not only the persons with disability who are coming to visit these places, but the revenue generated from it will help the residents of the city also. So it's a overall a win-win situation for everyone. Next slide, please. So for a long time, when we started incorporating geospatial approach towards this analysis and designing part, for a long time, we believed that the role of GIS is to have a up to the pre-design analysis. So using GIS, we do analysis, and then the design part will be done using some other tools and technology. But then we found out that the design part, the proposal and recommendations can also be given in the GIS itself. Like this one, this is the same stretch which Professor Khare have mentioned that she did her study with the students for the streetscape analysis and the design. This is the same stretch, the center, at the south center, you can see the Jama Masjid, and there is a street leading to that heritage gate of the walled city. So we thought if we want to make this accessible, universally accessible, we need to do some modification here. So this map is showing how we can restrict the vehicular movement, because as you can see here, all these commercial area and also residential areas, the people live there, and there has to be a vehicle movement because people have to reach their home, reach their offices or shops mostly. So in this map, it is showing that how we propose the alternative vehicular movement for people who are living there or who are running their shops. And then how we can place bollard on the main city and restrict the movements of the regular vehicle to improve the pedestrianization of the visitors, because visitor will come down from that main entrance towards the Jama Masjid, and they can do shopping over there, and then ultimately they reach their destination and they visit the heritage structure over there. And also this particular map, as you can see here, the yellow boxes are showing the parking, where the parking of the two-wheelers of those residents and shopkeepers, where the parking should be of the four-wheelers of those residents and shopkeepers, and how their movement should be towards their residents. So all these design part, proposal, not only I say design, but the proposal and the movement part, that can be also done in the GIS. Next slide, please. And then we gave some proposals, recommendations, before and after scenario. We took some photographs, and using the Photoshop, we tried to visualize that if actually we can make those existing site and universally accessible by adding some accessible features like accessible bus stand, signages, the lamp post, and then the movement of electric intermediate transit. We do have intermediate transits in India. We call them rickshaws, and now they are electronic rickshaws, so e-rickshaws. They are very kind of slow moving, but it's very good for last mile connectivity or short distance coverages. So we can, if we can provide them for movement in that street, so it will be also have the larger implication of that towards achieving the universal accessibility. Next slide, please. So this is another example that how those IPT will move, and how on the both sides there will be the pedestrian movement with tactile guiding and warning block, with car brand, with signages. Next slide, please. So after doing it in the Bhopal, we also have done the multiple heritage cities in India. Each of these cities have a very different context, but the similarity is that all of them are the heritage cities, all of them are the religious cities. And in India, religious cities experience lot of footfall of persons of disability or mobility restrictions like older people, senior citizens. So among these cities, as the center point, there is Ujjain, there is Prayagraj. Professor Khare was talking about Kumbh Mela. That's the largest religious congregation on earth, and that generally that event happens for the stretch of 45 days. And Jin actually experienced footfall of literally billions of people in the stretch of 45 days. So these Ujjain, Prayagraj both have the water or river edge location. Those both of the cities on the river, holy river, and the main purpose of that Kumbh Mela is involved with the bathing ritual. So people take deep in the holy river, and then they proceed to the temple for the further activity, the offerings and that. And there is a Puri. Puri is located at the bank of Bay of Bengal. That is the sea. So there is a sea level, seaside context to it. And in the south, we do have a Madurai. Madurai also have a holy river located close to holy river, and they are very famous for their temples, which are the architectural marvels. Next slide, please. So I'm going to show you some of the examples of how we did this geospatial mapping of the public realms of all these cities. So this map here, this slide is showing the examples of the map of high, low, and medium accessibility we did for the Ujjain city. This is map and their corresponding photograph. Next slide, please. The same map we have produced for the Madurai city. Another religious site one in the South India. Next slide. We did it for the Puri city with the sea facing city, have a long sea beaches over there. Next slide. We did it for the Prayagraj, which was earlier named as the Allahabad. So we did for Prayagraj also. Next. Yeah, so this is how we used geospatial uh, tool and geospatial approach to map hierarchy of accessibility status in the religious and heritage cities in different cities of India with different religious and heritage context. Now I am handing over to Professor Khare. She will be explaining how we made applications to help other people to plan their visit beforehand.
So thanks, Kapuli. And now we come to our last example, which is third example, where we developed an application. We had a lot of data in the whole process for diverse functional limitations, and this data was was geo-coordinated, where we knew that this point or this line is accessible, not accessible, or partially accessible, or accessible with assistance. We said here we define accessible assistance as assistance with dignity, not that four people are coming and picking up your wheelchair. We said one person's help, if you can do the task, you will call it partial accessible. So we collected this data for all different disability types, and we said that let's make this data available to people, those who are actual users in the site, so to the target community, so that if we are helping city administrators, planners, and we are also training students, but when will this be implemented? We never know. We don't know. So better is to make this data available to the people, so that when they are starting from home, they know whether, if we are going to a particular city or a particular site, whether it is accessible, whether it is not accessible, or it is accessible with assistance. So usually people travel with family in India, so he will know, okay, I find I have family with me, or I have any other kind of help with me, then I will be able to visit this particular heritage site. So we said, let's make this data available to them. Usually all these checklists and everything is very complicated, and people have difficulty in understanding these checklists and this huge data. So we thought that let's make it user friendly and make it available through a mobile application. This mobile application is called Sabhi. Sabhi in Hindi means for all, and otherwise it is Saman. It's an acronym of Saman. Saman is equal. Saman Access for Built Heritage in India. So again, this application has data from different levels: the city entry points, transportation, infrastructure, facilities. Usually the heritage sites have a certain area where you have all the transportation facilities, signages, and everything, and then the main site, or the building, the palaces, or the product itself should be accessible for persons with functional limitations. That means the app which they are using, which follows WCAG guidelines for accessible application. So we started mapping the data at macro level, that is city level, meso level at the level of heritage site, and the micro level using the same XYZ axis. Then we simplified this data so that users can understand it, or visitors can understand it, where you some of the there are international symbols for all these facilities. There are international facilities at macro level, railway station and police station and all that, and then the user's icon. So in case the facility is accessible, for example, this is green color wheelchair and says yes, it is accessible, accessible for independently. And then this is a icon which says yes, it is accessible, but with one person's assistance. And then they say, okay, this is the area which is not accessible. So similarly, for all different functional limitations, we started doing it in different categories. So we started with this is the mobile application, and it runs for a particular for one city, that is Bhopal. We did it for Bhopal with some 10 heritage sites and with the entire data that we developed in over the period of time. So this is how you choose your contrast, you choose your text size, you choose the language which you are comfortable in. Usually in India, we have English or Hindi is our national language. We took 2 languages. And then we said that, okay, let's dive into your comfort zone, which is whatever you think is, the data which you require. You can take that and then you confirm. And then you say, select the city. Which city are you traveling? So this is Bhopal. Which are the places in Bhopal which you will be traveling? And then there are certain stars also which are being given to these different sites in the city based on sentiment analysis of the social media feedback. We did the web scraping and we started the base data from there, and we started giving them the stars. And then when you have all this information, show on map, how to reach, places to stay, things to do, and then oriented to disability. So it is, when it is about, it talks about Sanchi stupa, but it also talks about accessibility in this particular heritage site. This is again World Heritage Site. So in the other languages also. And there's this information in case it is accessible with assistance, or it is inaccessible. The data is being, presented in this application. And this is overlaid on Google Maps. So when you are, you select a particular path and you move on the Google Map, then you can see your location in the Google Map. And the data is also provided in terms of maps. If you are able to see the map, and if you are not able to read the map, then there are flow charts which are being provided. So this is the example. This is the Google Map overlay. This is the accessible or accessible, inaccessible, or accessible with assistance path. This is the flow chart where you say which part, where you enter, how you move, where all you go, which part is accessible, which is not accessible, which is accessible with assistance. And similarly in the map, this is the site, how you enter, which parts are accessible or not for different disability types. So in case you are choosing, a particular functional limitation, then you will see the map which is relevant for that particular user. So, and then we started mapping all these facilities in the area, at city entry points, like ATMs, like hospitals, like restaurants, and parking, and everything is color coded. Then it is the places to stay, where do you stay, and again the stars which are being given, what are the things which you can do, you cannot do, or you can do with assistance, what are the basic amenities, what are, public transportation, ATM, petrol pump, all these facilities which are and the status of their accessibility, the visual gallery with features of accessibility, because many a times you say accessible or not accessible, but you want to see whether it really exists or not. So these are the pictures which are relevant for that particular user group using which you are entering. And then the feedback, sites feedback, what you have visited a site, whether what kind of feedback you have for the site, and also app feedback, how good or bad the whole application is. So we'll end here with our conclusion that when by integrating it with HUL principle, historic urban landscape principles, we try to mainstream the universal access component and aligned it with the regular approach, where we said that when you are saying a diversity of values, then you also must talk about different other vulnerable diverse groups which are underrepresented in the development of these cities. Then integrate in heritage in urban planning. We said that it should be integrated with regular planning initiative, everyone, including persons with limitations, and balancing conservation with development needs. So it can be done in case people are making contextually appropriate solutions, so that authenticity and accessibility is balanced through sensitive innovations. And then focusing on community participation, where everybody is coming on board. People, when you say different communities, then all vulnerable groups are also part of the community. Let them be represented in the whole initiatives. So and then this we checked and we shared with different people, and then we realized that how it is going to benefit people with disabilities, different people in district administration, urban development, archaeology, tourism development, and different NGOs, smart city development. There are and also festival planning committees, how this entire data can be used by them. And we'll end here. This is a photograph from another major project of ours, which is Udaipur City Palace Complex. And we realized, over the period of time, that there's always tension between conservation, development, and inclusivity, which shouldn't be there in case we are doing it, in a very sensitive manner. And and with practice, with everybody on board, with support of everyone, with cooperation of everyone, this is very much possible. And accessibility is integral to the management. It should not be a part or a layer which is added to it later on, where if you will do that, it will always going to look like a patchwork. Law exists, but lack of heritage specific application is not there, which can only come when it is acceptable to everyone and people know its value. And our toolkit or any other toolkit of this kind should be recognized at policy level, so that we are able to approach it in a structured way. We say, okay, accessibility is done, but it is partly done. You are not thinking about the whole the experience of the user. He's not going to come by a parachute, or he'll not jump onto a heritage site. So it has to be done at policy level. Digital helps. Technology helps us a lot. Now our next step is to use drone to map cities for which GIS maps doesn't exist. So thank you so much. We acknowledge the support of all the projects and our institute, and we end here. No culture or society can survive if it shuts down certain groups of people. So it should be everything, or every such city should embrace diversity and celebrate diversity. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you both. This was a tour de force from the largest population in the world. It takes enormous energy to pursue anything as ambitious as this. And I love that you are professors of architecture and urban design who are using your students and using not a special studio, but your ordinary studios. So amazing, very exciting. I assume you're going to keep going. Obviously, you're already talking about drones as a next strategy. So, all right, we've got people who have questions and want to talk. So let's see what we've got. Hang on. We actually are very lucky that we have a lovely friend in Tokyo. He often asks the first question, and it's partly because it is very late in Tokyo. As a matter of fact, it's very early in Tokyo. So he is a professional, a professor, now retired, a PhD in the tech sector. He's now working with the Japan Toilet Association. He's wondering about the improvement in toilets, since obviously travel and tourism and historic sites require you're going to go to a place. This is a destination. We didn't talk about toilets at all. Nat Hosono needs us to talk about toilets a little bit. Can you tell us, how are you dealing with that? What are you measuring there? And how is that working?
Yes, so toilet is there in our, all our parameters for evaluation, whether it is the city entry point or it is any street stretch or activity node. It remains a very important point in, one of our assessment, this thing. And then many times, and toilet and accessibility in toilet is very much contested. People say, okay, this big, it should be this big, it should be that big, it should be for assisted wheelchair users, there should be a, all such things are there. So instead of, and in Indian context, many times we don't even have a toilet, right? So how do we do it? And in heritage sites and cities, mostly we are using mobile toilets, or the temporary toilets, because it doesn't they are the most appropriate things to do in the and most acceptable things, where you are not doing any permanent intervention. So we are working on it, and we always suggest that in this Udaipur City Palace complex, where we had a trust who was instead of archaeology department, who is having a lot of restrictions. The trust was the owner of the heritage property. So they, when we said that this is what is needed, we need, and they did everything for us. Accessible toilets, they made unisex toilets. They said they also changed nappy changing room or baby feeding rooms and all such things. So depending upon the flexibility of the site and the heritage owners, we are able to give solutions to it. And we certainly include it in our, in one of the recent projects where we were doing their audit, and we were suggesting things. So they said that we have a we have a unisex toilet, but we don't have grab bars, we don't have money to do all such things in there, so let's do it in the winters. We said, and then you compromise on this. We said no compromise. So you will have, toilet is such a thing that where you cannot make a compromise, right? So this is what we insist from our side. And it is only when the user group will become empowered enough to question this or sue the authorities or sue the owners, it will not happen 100%.
That is a wonderful lead into the next question. And this is from Iris Gonzalez Alfonso, and Iris, I believe, from Puerto Rico. You mentioned that one of the obstacles is the budget to implement. But as a civil right, accessibility must be a priority. How do you manage on this matter? So obviously, you've just talked about the toilets. That's sort of a non-negotiable, has to happen. How are you managing the budget? I mean, how are you moving down this road? You're getting good support in a lot of quarters. The government is interested. Who's funding?
Yes. So in many cases where we are working since long time, so it is only now that you have RPWD Act, and which defines that what will be the punishment in case you are not providing accessibility. It was not there earlier. So in Hindi we say Sam Dam Dand Bhed. Matlab, you give incentive, you give you punish them, you give any support which are financial or any other type thing, and then you recognize their effort. So these are the different things. We use different strategies for different situations, and in case people are not willing to do it, we tell them about the act, the punishment. In case people are willing to do it, then we say that what kind of impact, what benefits are you going to get from this. Even when we say, I was talking about that Udaipur project, it took us quite some time to convince everyone who was related with the whole property that yes, we should make these changes. It may have a major visual impact, but then gradually people did that, and now it is in place. We see a lot of people with disabilities visiting and traveling, making blogs, sharing videos. So this is, and in, even I would say, when we started with our student sensitization or competitions, we took heritage sites, public buildings, pilgrimage sites before regular buildings, so that you understand that a lot of people visit these places. And also you have since you have signed UNCRPD, so you are supposed to show your empathy, your sensitivity to the entire world. So we sell it the way it sells.
I hope you're showing up on the CRPD report from India. It would be a good place to get some credit. Let me go to the next question, and this is from a colleague in London, Simon Hillier from Applied. Amazing work, thank you. What are the trade-offs with other sensory cues in these environments, and whether haptic elements are planned to be integrated into the app? And you may already be thinking about that. I know, Dr. Kare, you are very sensitive to the people with multisensory sensitivities, and that haptic experience in these incredibly fascinating structures has got to be part of what's in your head. How are you going to integrate that, or have you done anything with the haptic experience to date?
Yes, so if you will see the application, there is one component for the cognitive limitations also. So where we are talking about the cognition, not only in terms of disabilities, but also the vulnerable groups, those who are not so educated, those who are, rural population and are new to the city or new to the urban environment. So everybody comes in that category, where all these sensory cues make a lot of difference instead of reading and understand, and the visual cues. So all these things are very much part of, we are trying to map, and we are integrating it. At the same time, when the revision was happening after RPWD Act at the national level, whether it was guidelines, or when there was another institute who was working on the urban development strategies and planning. So I was part of their team, and everywhere I insisted that it should be very much part of the guidelines. So from our side, and as well as from the other side, a lot of things that we say, whether it is signage or whether it is several other tolerance for error, and so many things that we say are very much needed for people with cognitive and communication limitations.
Thank you. And I wanted to ask about, how do people access the app? Because it seems like it was a very smart move to do something that was applied over the Google standard. And curious, how are you disseminating that? Are people, say, I want to take my family to a heritage site as an annual event, can I get access to that map so I know what to expect? This is a perfect know before you go strategy.
Yes. So we have done it for the city of, because we were doing it as a project, which was a sponsored project. So we have developed the beta version. It will be available in Google Play Store, and also for iPhone. But for that, we are in touch with the district administration, so that the information about this application is there available on their website. So
Okay.
right now we have only few sites which are included, but in case we collaborate with Madhya Pradesh Tourism Development Corporation or Archaeological Survey of India, then we can do, a set of buildings for all those visitors, those who will be searching the main site first.
Right.
And
right.
it has to be endorsed by those people that yes, it is a approved platform and approved application, and if the information which is there in this is authentic. And also when we say that okay, wheelchair is available, this path is available, and when you go on site but that particular gate is locked, the key is not available, the toilet is locked. So unless and until the owners of the heritage, whether it is government or not or private, they are on board, even if we are saying it is accessible, it may not be accessible on site. So we are trying to have everybody together so that we understand our responsibility together, and it is available to the users when they are visiting it. So we are in process of that.
Yeah. Well, I think you've built an appetite today, and we certainly hope that we're going to engage a lot more people to think about this. Maybe a last question. I am curious about whether you have tackled the issue of training the preservation community to really understand this, because we are very familiar with the challenge of the balance between accessibility and inclusive design and preservation, which we dearly love and respect, but people don't always understand. And they also don't understand the incredible diversity of human ability. And I think it is critically important that we train champions within that world that see it not as a threat, but as an opportunity. Have you got a strategy to do that? You're certainly working hard, to train design professionals. Are you thinking about an opportunity to get your preservation community on board through training?
Yeah, so there's one thing which is, most advantageous for me in this context, because my husband is a conservation architect. So, and I'm in Getty because of him. So, we had a practice of conservation architecture for a long time. We worked in Rajasthan together. And that way, I was part of so many other initiatives and professionals, those who are actually into the field. So when in all our programs, even if starting with the students, I would say the electives or all these projects, competitions and everything are open to students of conservation also. We have Masters of Conservation program, full-fledged program. We have Masters of Urban Planning, we have Masters of Design. So all these students are there, and we have a cross-disciplinary elective. And all these studios, so together with the regular studios, we are also running these electives, which are part of our projects. And then and we also do interdisciplinary competitions, in national competitions, within institute competitions, and people participate in it. So that made a huge impact in the past. Now and then all these competitions are part of regular studios as well as conservation studios. So that is our one of the major achievements, where some of our design briefs were actually part of specialized courses. So and also when we are working on heritage cities, the first people whom we connect with are the heritage professionals, because they have the data, they have all the information. And because of RPWD Act, now everybody knows that it is everybody's mandate to do it. So, but they don't know how to do it. So we say, okay, you come to us when we are doing urban planning and capacity building training. We invite them. We also have a very strong set of professors and professionals in our institute, those who come from conservation field. So they all are part of it. So it has I will say that over the years, everybody knows about our work, and everybody knows about the importance of accessibility in the heritage site. If they don't know how to do it, they know whom to connect with.
They know who to
in
go
case
to.
they are planning to do this.
Yes, excellent strategic choice to marry Dr. Ajay Khare to make sure that you always had that balance.
Yeah.
I also applaud you for the wisdom of bringing along one of your colleagues, infecting her with the same sense of purpose. So we are deeply grateful to both of you. This is an enormous amount of information. I think all of us are, partly thinking about, gosh, I want to go to India now, and partly just really wanting to absorb exactly how you have pulled off this sequential strategy of really changing how people think and what we understand about this precious aspect of the built environment. So we are in your debt. We appreciate this very much. You can go on to your day, and Dr. Saha, you can go to sleep. It is late at night in India. So with our sincere gratitude, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.